A Covington man is suing a former Alleghany County Sheriff's deputy for $5 million after what he claims was an excessive use of force. Video of his arrest obtained by our Target 7 team shows the officer repeatedly punching the man until he is covered in blood. Target 7 investigator Isabella Ledonne is joining us now in studio. Isabella, you have been digging into this lawsuit and the events leading up to it. What can you tell us?
Jean, this all happened back in March of 2022 when former Deputy James Wright arrested Joshua Barracks for skateboarding and public intoxication. Barracks' attorneys told me the alleged crimes don't fit the beating that followed. Now, we do want to warn you, the video that you're about to see is graphic.
As a community, we all want quality policing. But in order to have quality policing, you have to have accountability.
Attorney Scott Austin is representing Joshua Barracks in his case against former Alleghany County Sheriff's Deputy James Wright. He says Barracks was skateboarding to the Covington Farm and Fuel store when Wright stopped him.
In our view, Officer Wright knew Mr. Barracks, our client, very well, and he'd had an immediate encounter with him a couple weeks prior that we believe Officer Wright thought that our client was disrespectful to him and his colleagues, and that he decided that night that he was going to take it out on him when he saw him.
Surveillance video obtained by Target 7 shows what Austin says is an excessive and brutal use of force by Wright. Barracks ran from Wright through the store, got on his knees with his hands above his head. Wright then grabbed Barracks, shoved him on the concrete floor, and punched him in the face 12 times.
In the United States, when you surrender, even if you have run from the police, they are not able to punch you in the face 12 times, break your jaw, give you a brain bleed and a traumatic brain injury. They're just not allowed to do that.
People in the store began recording, and once the phones came out, Wright stopped punching Barracks. In his response to the lawsuit, Wright claims the punches were distraction strikes. He acted within his right as law enforcement, and any claims are barred under qualified immunity.
It is unfortunate that the police in this case did not investigate one of their own. And therefore, the only recourse we had was to file a federal lawsuit.
Barracks has had trouble with the law before and is currently serving a sentence for drug-related charges. After the March incident, Barracks was charged with playing in the street, public intoxication, and running from police, all misdemeanor charges. Austin says that doesn't justify a beating that left him hospitalized.
Although our client does have a checkered past, nothing warrants what happened to him in the back room of that convenience store. This is not about trying to get him out of jail. This is about any of that. What he wants is accountability.
Wright is now employed with Virginia State Police. This lawsuit was filed after he was hired. Jean, Wright's attorney, the Sheriff's Department, and VSP all declined to comment on the pending litigation. I'm also looking into why there was not a formal investigation when this incident happened. That's coming up in part 2 of my report tomorrow at 6.
Part 2 of our Target 7 investigation of a multi-million-dollar lawsuit against a former Alleghany County Sheriff's deputy. Last night, we showed you a graphic video of the deputy punching a man during his arrest. Target 7 investigator Isabella Ledonne is now here in studio. Isabella, after last night's report, I know many viewers have reached out wondering why this is a civil case and not a criminal one.
Well, Jean, a criminal case can only happen if there's an investigation from the police department and the Commonwealth's attorney can then place charges. But Joshua Barracks' attorneys told me there was never an investigation, and a civil lawsuit is one of their limited options. And we do want to warn you, the video in this story is graphic. An arrest at the Covington Farm and Fuel more than 2 years ago ended with Joshua Barracks in the hospital from his injuries and former Alleghany County Sheriff Deputy James Wright being sued for $5 million.
All right, quit working.
Barracks attorney Scott Austin says law enforcement didn't investigate one of their own.
It would have been far better had the Commonwealth's attorney and the local police been involved from the beginning and investigated this, and then we wouldn't be in this situation.
Surveillance video shows Wright punching Barracks 12 times after he got on his knees and put his hands above his head. Wright's response to the lawsuit stated he acted within law enforcement policy.
Well, if that's true, we need to change the police policy because his behavior was outrageous. But we don't think it was in keeping with police policy.
The sheriff's office said no official investigation took place other than reviewing the video, but it's unclear why the department didn't investigate. 7 months later, Wright was hired as a Virginia State police trooper.
In our opinion, this officer should not be involved in law enforcement.
VSP did a standard review of the hiring process once they were made aware of the lawsuit, nearly a year after he was hired. Wright is still employed with VSP. While Barracks is serving a sentence for drug-related charges, his attorney says the goal with this case is accountability.
When he's released, he's going to go back to that community, and he wants a safe community for the citizenry, and that necessarily means that you have to have accountability for the police.
Wright's attorneys, the Alleghany County Sheriff's Office, and VSP all declined to comment on the pending litigation. Gene, the lawsuit is expected to go to trial in October, and I have sent a Freedom of Information Act request for records and footage related to this incident, and we'll update you when we get those back.
Isabella, for the first time tonight, we are seeing that new footage of what happened. So you obtained this footage through a Freedom of Information Act request. So what have you learned?
Natalie and Jean, for the first time, we are hearing the interaction between Barracks and Wright. While in our previous coverage, we could only see a part of the arrest from surveillance footage. The Alleghany County Sheriff's Office never investigated the use of force, and no administrative action was ever taken against Wright. And we want to warn you again, this video is graphic and may be disturbing for some viewers.
Stop.
In Deputy James Wright's body camera footage, Joshua Barracks ran away after Wright accused him of public intoxication. As Wright strikes Barracks 12 times in the face, he yells,
"Put your hands behind your back!"
while pinning him against the concrete floor and punching him in the face. A few customers are watching as Wright tells Barracks to stop resisting, to which he responds,
Please stop! You're under arrest! Put your hands behind your back! Okay. I didn't know I was under arrest! I told you you're under arrest!
But at no point in the videos we obtained does Wright tell Barracks he's under arrest. That statement comes after he shoved and struck Barracks.
This is a hell of a fight.
Wright tells other deputies and a store employee he pulled Barracks over for public intoxication after he saw him skateboarding on the highway. Target 7 requested Wright's dashcam footage, but we were told the vehicle didn't have one, despite the lawsuit outlining details from the footage and photos from the highway. 7 months after this arrest happened, Wright joined the Virginia State Police, where he is still employed. Jean and Natalie, VSP, told me they found out about this once the lawsuit was filed, which was a couple months after this had happened. The case is set to go to trial in October. My previous coverage breaking down the details of the lawsuit, now that can be found over on our website.